Hello and welcome to the Capital Market. I am Bosin Omofai and I'm in today for Temple Ashaju. A very busy market week ends on Friday with high-profile engagements, and that includes the Africa Export-Import Bank of Cairo. The supranational financial institution was in Lagos to woo local investors for its $300 million depository receipts approved for listing on the Mauritius Stock Exchange. During the meeting with institutional and high net worth investors, the president of the bank, Benedict Orama, and the financial advisor, the chairman of the State Bank of Mauritius, Ki Chongli, explained that a minimum investment of $500,000 in the depository receipt attracts tax holidays in the country of Mauritius. The depository receipt, which is also the first in Africa, is floated at $4.03 with a targeted 5% appreciation. Nigeria is Afrexim's bank's largest shareholder with over $3.5 billion in existing interventions. The financial institutions plans to build a world-class oncology facility in Nigeria with 3 new industrial parks. In Ogun State, Southwest region, the Cairo-based Development Finance Organization looks to situate a quality certification center for export facilitation. Afrexim's investment roadshow continues next week in Abidjan, the Ivorian capital. Let's move into the insurance sector, where the penetration is around 5% and one of the lowest, not just in Africa, but around the world. And now efforts have been made to deepen insurance services consumption, and that was a key idea behind the new partnership between the National Insurance Commission and the Nigerian Stock Exchange. In the past months, the Stock Exchange has delisted 12 of the 27 listed insurers for poor post-listing compliance. At the Stock Exchange this week, the Stock Exchange CEO, Oscar Onyema, and the insurance team led by the Commissioner, Mohammed Kari, agreed to explore areas of regulatory advantages for the growth of the sector. Areas of collaboration to be explored include improvement in financial disclosure by listed insurance companies, risk spreading across various asset classes, and the provision of information to the investment community. And that was images of the listing of the closing ceremony by the insurance regulator. Of course, after the event, Channel's business producer Temple Ashaju sat down with the NICOM chairman, what we call the commissioner, Mohammed Kari, to get more insight into his visit to the stock exchange and to discuss the state of the insurance market in Nigeria. Let's take a listen to that conversation.
Okay. The insurance committee, to start with, is a grouping of the chief executive of the operating companies with the regulator and the other market service providers like the intermediaries and the adjusters. We meet frequently to discuss issues of policy and strategy. And in the meeting today, we invited the chief executive of the Nigeria Stock Exchange as a special guest to talk to us about what our industry can do to impact on the financial sector in Nigeria. And we're happy to note in his submission that though insurance company has a large number of quoted companies on the floor, they are doing a little below par. And he has identified ways and given advice and strategies on how we can develop to be a serious player. And these are things we have taken to heart. We have adopted his presentation as a working paper of the committee, and we're going to have subcommittees to dissect it and come up with how we can ensure that our members that are quoted play their role, and members that are not quoted to see incentives in what he has presented to come to the floor of the exchange.
When you were addressing stockbrokers on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, one of your comments was that you'll see a different sector going forward. Talk to us about what you mean by this phrase.
His statements today were very inspiring, and the quoted companies took it as a challenge upon themselves to improve their openness to their shareholders, to improve communication between them and the consumers. And the unquoted companies vowed that they would pursue to get quoted, because they took out from what he said a lot of positives in their being quoted in the exchange. We are a financial sector operator. We cannot play in isolation to the finances of an economy. And we need the stock exchange. We need to raise capital. We need to operate with other providers of services in the sector. And it's only by being where it matters that you'll be properly recognized.
Investors often claim that transparency is lacking in Nigeria's insurance sector. Do you agree with that? And are you putting some strategies together to address this concern?
Yes, we see there's going to be a sudden surge in the increase of insurance operations in Nigeria because we have strategized along with government to ensure that the compulsory classes, which are 6, are enforced. And we believe if those are enforced, the economy would benefit because there is so much waste that goes after non-insurance disasters. Imagine all the collapsed buildings we see in Nigeria. Imagine all the market fires. Imagine all the floods. If these are insured, which are required to be insured in law, if those are insured, it will free funds that government use to support such disasters to other things in the economy. And we're coming out with very robust approaches and strategies to ensure that the appropriate authorities, for example, the police, the fire services, the federal road safety, work with us to enforce those classes that are compulsory. And we are launching that second phase as soon as next month. I'm sure the impact will be so sudden that people would prefer insurance stock going forward.
As part of strategies you are adopting to address the weak performances of some of these insurance companies, are you looking at mergers and acquisition to consolidate their existence and performance going forward?
We have a special subcommittee actually that is looking at that aspect. And we cannot deny that some of the companies are weak, capital-wise, and we are encouraging them to merge where they cannot raise capital so that they can become strong players. The chief executive gave us some statistics